Hello everyone, it's Tracy. Welcome back to SkatKatz YouTube channel. Thanks very much for joining me. Today I'm doing an unboxing and a brief setup of the Silhouette Cameo 5 and its first use. The Silhouette Cameo 5 is available from SkatKatz and I shall link that in the description box below. So I have the Silhouette Cameo here and I'm unboxing it. And I'm just taking out the little packets that are on the top. I shall go through those in more detail shortly. And I'm just removing the roll feeder, just putting that to the side, and the packaging that's inside the box. And there's the mat. And then I'm just going to remove the machine out of the box completely and get all that out of my way. The machine is very well packed. So I'm just going to put everything out and go through this with you. So first up, you'll notice that you'll get a Silhouette Cameo mat. Just going to put that to the side. Then we've got the power cord. And inside this bag there's the AC adapter, which connects to that power cord. Like so. And that's your cord ready to plug into the machine and then plug into the wall. This cord here is not compatible in Australia. I think it's the European plug, so we won't use that. Inside this bag we have the auto blade and the blade adjustment tool. And there's also some safety instructions there, which you might want to give that a look when you have time. So I'm just going to fold this up and put it back in this plastic bag along with this plug here, which I think is a European one, but we're not going to use that in Australia. It's not compatible, along with the auto blade and the adjustment tool, just so I don't lose them. Next up we have the roll feeder. This is your feeder that attaches to the Silhouette Cameo 5 that holds your rolls of vinyl. I'll just put that to the side for the time being, and now it's time to unwrap the machine and take off all of the protective tapes and things that are in place for the machine whilst it was in transit. So I'm just taking off things. This footage is sped up, so it looks like I'm being a little bit rough, but I'm not. It's only sped up because I'm taking it so slowly so I don't damage the machine. So I'm just taking off all those bits of tape. The machine is very well packed for transit. These machines have come a long way in transit, so they need to have as much protection on the inside for the blade housing as they can put in. So I'm just going around and taking all of these tapes away. And the ends of these tapes are folded over, so it makes it easier to peel them up. You're not having to scratch around for the end of the tape. You can see that those bits of tape are holding a piece of core flute inside there. I'm going to tackle that shortly. I'm just not sure what it's attached to and I don't want to damage anything. I'm just removing all of the others around it and then I'll come back to that piece of core flute. Just take your time and don't rush it because you don't want to damage anything. So I'm just going to have a look here and see what I can see. Going to just hold off for a second and do the one on the back. These tapes are easily identifiable by their bright blue colour, so it's easy to see where they are. I'm just checking to make sure there isn't any underneath. And then back to this piece of core flute. So excuse my head here, I'm going to get right in and see if there's anything that I need to be aware of so it's not caught on anything, and I'm just going to take that out. And there's another piece in behind there. Just going to move the blade housing and get the other bit of packaging. There is a user's manual and I'll link it below. It's a good idea to have this up on the screen whilst you're setting up the machine. It gives you step-by-step instructions. And I've got it here loaded up on my MacBook Air. And it shows you where all the tapes are and where they're located so you don't miss any whilst you're unpacking the machine. And for this setup I had this manual up on the screen the whole time to make sure I didn't miss a step. So I just missed a bit of packaging there, so I'm just taking it off. You will also need to update your software on your computer and make sure it's the current version, otherwise it will not support the Silhouette Cameo 5. So I went ahead and updated my computer software. So I'm just switching the machine on here, and you do need to hold that switch in for a few seconds and then the machine will power up and turn on. Now with the Silhouette Cameo 5 you don't get a USB power cable for it, you will need to buy one, or if you've got one in your stash like I do from my Cameo 4, you'll need to use that to connect it to your computer. And this is the end that connects to the Cameo 5, and this will connect to my MacBook Air. This piece here is an adapter for the MacBook Air. So I did go ahead and do a firmware update on the Silhouette Cameo 5. If you are a Silhouette user, you are very familiar with what a firmware update is. Whenever you get a new machine, you will need to update your firmware before you can use it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the roll feeder here. This is the roll feeder that will hold your rolls of vinyl. And to fit it onto the Silhouette Cameo, you just need to tilt your Cameo up, and you'll see that there are two locks here. You'll need to unlock those locks. And the front cover of the Silhouette Cameo 5 will be removable. I'm sorry, my arm's in the way there. And underneath there you'll be able to see that the parts here on the roll feeder, here and here, will fit into here and here on the bottom of the Cameo 5. And they just line up and slot in. I'm actually making it look harder than what it is in the video, and I apologise for that. It's just the angle that I was trying to do it on. It looks like I'm struggling, but I'm not really. Just making sure that I'm lining it up, and then it will slot into place. And I do get it here lined up eventually, and it locks in like so. So this is your roll feeder. I'm just going to move this over a little bit. And I like having that attached to actually just keep my mat nice and straight without bending. So I'm not a very big vinyl user, not using rolls of vinyl anyway. But the roll feeder itself, you slide this forward, and these parts inside here flip up so that you can insert your roll of vinyl. And then there's another part here that you would feed your vinyl through into the front of the Silhouette Cameo. And there's an adjustable guide there. I'm not a very big user of vinyl that comes on a roll, so I'll mainly be using this roll feeder as a support guide for my cutting mat, which this is perfect for that. And speaking of the cutting mat, I'm sorry I don't mention this in the video, but don't forget to set up your cutting mat guides on the Cameo 5. I'll link a video in the description box below that shows you how to do that comprehensively. And I've just realised we won't get far without the blade installed, so I'm going to put that into the Silhouette Cameo 5 now, into the blade housing, into that first carriage there. So you've got the locking mechanism here for the blade. You need to pull that out and then put the blade in, press it all the way down and make sure it's in nice and firm, and push that lock back into place, and you will hear it click, and that way your blade is in place. And if you have any troubles cutting, that's the first place to check. Make sure you've got your blade installed properly. So I've got my cutting mat here, and I'm going to remove that protective cover from the mat and get started on my first project. This mat's giving me a little bit of grief. It's got a very strong tack, and it's always a good idea to try and remove some of that tack before you put your cardstock in place. You can just pop it up against your shirt. If it's a clean shirt, take away some of that tack. The first project I'm going to do is this one that's on the screen. I will link it in the description box below, but that's the design ID, and when it's completed it will look like this. And I'm going to get started, and we're going to have a listen to the Cameo 5 making its first cut. The settings I used to cut this project are the cardstock settings within the Silhouette Design Studio program for the Auto Blade, and it cut this project out perfectly. So you're probably sick of watching and listening that now, so I'll just speed up the footage and take away the audio whilst the machine is finishing up the cut for this project. It is a much quieter machine than the Cameo 4 and the Cameo 2 that I also own, so that's nice. And this video has just been my personal experience of setting up this Silhouette Cameo 5 in my craft room. There is a comprehensive video on the Silhouette Secrets Plus YouTube channel by EllyMae. She goes into a lot more detail on setting up the machine, and I can highly recommend that you go and watch that video. I will link it in the description box below. So I'm just finishing up here, taking the mat away from the project here. I don't want to tear it, so I'm just taking it slowly and finishing that card off. So that's my setup and unboxing and first project done with my Silhouette Cameo 5. I hope you've enjoyed watching and that you feel inspired to either upgrade to the Cameo 5, or if it's your first machine, why not jump in and have a go. There's plenty of help available online, and the people at SkatKatz are fantastic if you get stuck as well. Don't forget to check the description box down below for the links that I've previously mentioned, and if you'd like to subscribe to the SkatKatz YouTube channel, they would really love that. Thanks very much for watching today. Have a great day, and until next time, it's bye for now.